Hi, are you ready to visit today? I'm ready to visit with you. And if you have anything you want to talk about, please put it in the comments and I'll try to answer you or address it in another video. I am back at it again today as usual. Last time I think, or not last time, time before I was making applesauce. And today I'm peeling apples again. I'm this time freezing apples for pies, so that we can have pies whenever we want, apple pies all winter long, or apple crisp or whatever. For many years, I used to make all the pie crust dough. Tilt this a little bit so I'm not constantly stepping out of the frame or anything. I used to make lots of pie crust dough, and I had tons and tons of either pie tins that I bought at rummage sales, or sometimes I would have, I would break down and buy some disposable pie tins, and I would make the crust, fill them with apples, and get my pies completely made. And then I would put them in the freezer that way. I'd wrap them up tight and put them in the freezer. And whenever I wanted some fresh hot apple pie, I would just pop one in the oven, or two, depending. It was great for if like company was coming and I wasn't prepared. It made it nice and easy to have something on hand. But now I don't have as much freezer space as I used to have, because I just put so much stuff in there. So I put so much stuff in there and have to go through it all the time and clean it out. And I just decided it was easier to just freeze bagged apples quicker. And then I had the versatility of how I wanted to use them too for different types of desserts and stuff. So that's what I'm doing today. But I just stopped to take a sip of my coffee out of my grandma cup, because I am a grandma of many, and it's been a pretty busy grandma kind of week. I'm actually doing two kinds of apples, and I would tell you what they are, but I don't remember what the yellow kind is, and I don't know what the red kind are, but I'm doing two kinds of apples so that I have a nice flavor in the pie. Because one's a little sweeter, one's a little tartar. They're both actually pretty good for just munching on, though. I got to say, a little bit of a tang to them both, but one more than the other. I got a bunch of, we used to have so many apple trees, but they died over the years. They got old, and now this year, I think I might have mentioned it before that I picked at my granddaughter's house because she's got so many trees at her house. And now she's making pies and things. So I kind of have a method when I do this. My little slicer broke on my peeler core, my part that cores it, but it's actually worked out just fine because it peels faster, and then I just go whoop, 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 and just slice. I go around. I slice them like a little, kind of like going in from like not quite the top down toward the bottom core. The bottom half of the core. And then after I get it shaped like that, then I flip it around and I slice down toward the other side. And that way I'm not getting seeds from the core and stuff in there. And I end up with just a nice little core, which goes in my bucket that's going in my pot for more apple juice. So anyhow, back to what I was saying before about my method. I never know how many bags to put in the freezer. Oh, hello. That was my dog. He opens the door. Can't get that apple off. Are you going to stand here, Timber? We have a golden retriever, and he's really smart. And he's kind of like pouting right now and feeling sad because Daddy went to work. My husband goes in the afternoons. He's a janitor at a hospital, which he really likes doing. And he worked for many years for the highway department. Now he's working as a janitor, and he likes it. He's a people person. So he sees a lot of people, talks to a lot of patients and, employees and stuff, and he enjoys that a lot. But his puppy feels kind of sad when he goes. So then I have to entertain him. The thing of it is the dog, his name is Timber. He loves to play Frisbee. And my husband will pause in whatever he's doing multiple times throughout the day to toss a Frisbee for him. And my husband has disc golf baskets He's got a couple of them set up in the yard, like they're about 100 yards apart. And so he likes to really whip that disc and try it from all kinds of different angles and stuff. And then this is so he can play with the grandkids too, but it's mostly for him. Anyway, so the dog always brings his Frisbee back for him, so he doesn't have to do that. So I'm getting close to a batch here. Man, I got those things on there hard. Or the certain apple, the red apples are a little bit of a firmer apple. That's the other nice thing is you get the different types of apples going in these, and it just makes it so much better. But one of the things, I'm going to show you the rest of my method in a minute. But I tell you, I have been just going crazy. I now have all my peppers taken care of. I have diced and sliced and canned and dehydrated. In fact, I wanted to show you. This is some of my dehydrated peppers. I have a few more in the dryer yet that have to go in here. And I save these kinds of jars that have the little rubber ring inside, and that keeps them closed and dry, nice and tight. Ooh, boy, did that smell good. Ooh, through the winter. And I can rehydrate them when I want to, but I also can peppers when I want them, when I don't have time to rehydrate them, or when I want them to taste like different, because these taste like sun-dried. And I tell you, this little jar here, which was like an old Smucker's jar, I guess, which is weird because I never buy jelly. I make it. But anyhow, this jar, when it's full, holds 4 trays of peppers. So that's a lot of peppers in that little jar. So easy to store. And I have to remember when I go to use them that a little bit of pepper goes a long way. So I'm getting close to having this amount done. I've been making lots of apple coffee cake for the last week. Oh, it's so good. Really good. It came from a blueberry crisp recipe that I really liked. And I've been like doubling the amount of fruit in it. So it's kind of heavy. Oh, but it's so good. It's so good. It's so good. It's the kind that has like the crumble top on it and everything, the cake, and yummy, yummy. Way too much sugar for my body, but oh, I find it so good. So anyway, what I do is to decide how much I'm going to need to peel for a batch, I like really fat and thick pies that really are high. And when I'm freezing apples too, that when they cook, because they were frozen, they cook down quite a bit. As you know, even any pie will do that. So to measure, instead of going by cups, I just use the size of a pie plate that I'm going to be making. And I just heap it up with apples like that. And I don't mind if there's a couple little peeling pieces in there. In fact, last year I did some apples that I didn't peel at all. I just sliced them, and it was actually really good. So then I take all my apples. I have my bags all pre-marked. You know, it says apples 2025. It says plus a half a cup of sugar, which isn't exactly true because these are a sweeter apple. I'm probably putting a little less sugar in than that, and that way too I can have a little room to, when I go to bake it, to sprinkle a little extra on top when I start to add cinnamon and things. Anyhow, I get them in the bag, and then I add my sugar, which, like I say, this is probably more like a third of a cup. Sprinkle that in on top. Shake it down in there good. Get it all mixed around. I kind of pinch the top. I don't close it yet. And I get it all shook up like that. Get some sugar spread around. And then when I go to seal it, I get almost all the way down at the end, and then I kind of squeeze all the air out. Some people use a vacuum sealer would be great, or to be able to suck the air out another way, you can do that. Some people stick a straw in and literally suck the air out, but I can get it pretty well sealed like that. And then I kind of squish it around with my hands a little bit so that will lay nice and flat in the freezer. And I'll pop that in the freezer, and we can have apple whatever all the rest of the year. So I need to make a little pile over here. So that's that. Another tip. Other than that, I've been working on my novels coming out over the next year. And I'm sending out a newsletter this coming week. If you don't have my newsletter in your email box, be sure and sign up for it. You get a free short story or two. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've changed that up. But you might want to get the newsletter. I'm going to do a cover reveal because I finally have the final for my novel coming out with Barber in May called The Girl from Tomorrow's Town. And it's a story about a young woman traveling. I'm not going to tell you the whole thing, but just this, she's escaping is what she's doing. She's heading east. She gets on a train. She meets this guy. He's got a very rare form of color blindness, which makes it, his vision is very, very impaired. They end up with the circus. He is already with the circus. And she's searching for what was home when she was 9 years old. She's trying to find her mother again and her family, if they even are living. She doesn't even know what happened to them. She doesn't really remember where home was. I'm not going to tell you all the details. You can read it if you get my newsletter. It's got all the explanation. But anyway, the cover for that the reveal for that is going to be in my newsletter. It's a really pretty cover. I really like it. It's nice colors, pretty gal on the front, some elements relating to the circus and stuff. I really like it. So that's going to be coming out. And I've been working on my novellas. I think I told you before that I got the rights back to Heart Not Taken, and I have a brand new novella that I want to put with it to offer in one single book or one single download. And the new one is called A Chosen Pursuit. And I'm going to have some stuff about that probably in this newsletter too, but that book is actually going to come out at the end of this month, hopefully. That's the goal. The goal was October, so we'll see. Let's see. Oh yeah. Better get back to work here. So I wanted to say that, this task, I haven't done a lot of reading this past month, because I went on a road trip. I mentioned it before. I went on a road trip to do some research, and, then I had to get home and compile some stuff from that and catch up with all these tasks that were waiting for me to get done before it freezes out, which it did. Now I'm done pulling things out of the garden other than the in-ground things. But I've been busily taking care of produce, and I just have not had a lot of time to do any reading. I've been reading at night when I go to bed, and a lot of times I listen to audiobooks, of course, but I haven't even really been listening to any audiobooks that have really got me this month. So I am rereading a series that I loved 30 years ago by Angela Hunt. It's called The Heirs of Kahira O'Connor. I loved it then, and I'm loving it all over again because after all those years, I've forgotten quite a bit. And I remembered, the basic fundamentals. And what really struck me is that in the first book that I'm finished with now, called The Silver Sword, it's such a reflection on our day and age and the things going on. In with the story, there's a romance in it, but in with the story, and it's not heavily romantic. It's mostly historical. But in with the story, it weaves the story of John Huss, or Jan Hus, as you probably should say. And it's, both his ministry and his martyrdom. And so it's a very kind of a gut-wrenching story, encouraging. It reminded me of the Apostle John, or not the Apostle John, but John the Baptist, rather, is what I meant to say. And the situation that he found himself in. And it reminded me so much, with the news this last month about Charlie Kirk and things. It's really reflected so much of what our world is dealing with right now on another level. And I can't really recommend it enough. The re-releases have a few more typos in it than the original did, but still worth reading. Very good, very good. And she's so thorough with her research. It's just mind-boggling. So I would recommend those. And I know she has a new book that just came out, I think today, about the story of Sarah. And I listened to the Avid Readers podcast this week about that. And I was kind of blown away with all the research she did to come up with the fictional account of Sarah and Abraham. And I mean, it isn't going to tell you everything. And the Bible doesn't say a whole lot more than the basic story. So you have to keep that in mind. But she has done some brilliant research. And I'm probably going to have to put that one on my list too, because I really admire Angela Hunt. So anyway, that said, I can get really bogged down. I'm sure you probably can relate when it comes to housework and chores that are, look at that little tiny apple, that seem mundane day to day. We do those things that we have to do all the time to take care of our homes and our families, whether it's laundry or canning something or cleaning or working outside. And, we're really fortunate in our time to be able to have, ear pods and things like that to listen to while we're doing tasks. And I just think it's a nice opportunity sometimes. Like I'm doing this today, talking to you. And it's a nice opportunity to slow down, to think, to pray. Sometimes instead of talking to you, I'll be talking loud to the Lord. And it's a nice opportunity to do that in a way that doesn't interrupt you're still getting things done, is I guess what I'm saying. And yet you can totally be having a conversation with God and be fellowshipping with him, walking and talking with him when you rise and when you go to sleep and as you're walking in the way, like it says in, where's that, Jeremiah? And anyway, I remember too, now we can listen to audiobooks. We can watch movies while we work. We can do all kinds of things if our hands are occupied. We have other things that we can do to make the time pass in a really relaxing way. And I appreciate that. That is one of the things I'm thankful for in life, is that we can do that. I remember years ago, and I don't remember where I heard this or who said it. I would credit them if I could remember. But I remember someone saying, maybe it was on a radio program, oh, sometimes when I do the dishes, I just light a candle by the sink and I just go into my own little world and let it take me away. Calgon, that kind of thing, if you remember Calgon. Anyway, I have done that many times, actually. Winter's coming and it gets dark out so early and light out so late the next morning. And there have been many times, especially when I had little ones around my feet at home and was really busy with that, I would just light a candle next to the sink, something that smelled really wonderful. Now it's pumpkin spice season and apple cider season, all that. So there's that. But I would do that and I would just float away on the dish bubbles. And it made the task feel less like work. And I believe that, the Lord wants us to enjoy the work of our hands, to it shouldn't all be horrific of pulling weeds and all that kind of thing in the garden in the summer. Sometimes it can be a pleasant task if we have an attitude adjustment about it. And if we just go at it in a way that we recognize the simpleness of it. And these days too, with all the stuff going on in the world all the time and in the news, it's nice to have something simple to do that we can still do. 2 weeks ago, my washing machine broke. I broke my washing machine. I put something too heavy in there. Let that be a warning to you. Do not overfill your loads. And I was without a washing machine for 10 days. We ended up having to get a different washing machine because the repair would have been not worth it. Right there, another one. So anyway, I was happy and thankful to be able to do laundry again and not have to rinse socks out in the sink or the bathtub. Ugh. So there's lots to be thankful for in our day and age. And it gave me a new perspective even of having to sit down and fold laundry, which is my least favorite thing to do. But it was nice to be able to pull those clothes out of the machine nice and clean and out of the dryer, and to be able to sit down and fold it. I had been hanging quite a bit of things on my clothesline during that time. And, that's wonderful too, having the nice smell of that laundry. So I hope this week that as you go about, or this weekend coming up here, as you go about your everyday tasks, the tasks that don't take you away from home, that you will be able to relax, enjoy, listen to a book, what else? Watch a movie, find some podcast, chat with me, sign up for my email newsletter. It's called Northwood's Faith and Fiction, but it's on my website. And I just hope that you'll find peace and relaxation in whatever you're doing. May the Lord show you, the Lord Jesus, show you his kindness and faithfulness, which comes from our Father, which comes from the indwelling of the Holy Spirit in us. And may you have a great end to your week. Next time.